So I actually always thought I'd work with adults, very much. My passion was always to work with asylum seeking and refugee adults and adults who'd experienced trauma. And then during my doctorate, I had a placement with children in foster care and just absolutely fell in love with it. And it kind of combined all of my loves. So I got to be creative and use puppets and masks and art. I saw that you could have a much wider systemic input. I loved working with the school and foster carer and the courts and really sort of doing the whole system. And then I started thinking more about the early intervention. And so I think that's suddenly it just clicked and I just thought actually this is the avenue I want to go to. So that's sort of how I transitioned. And I've been doing it for 12 plus years now. And each time sort of have always stayed working with children who've experienced trauma, but on different ends. So sometimes on the child protection, sometimes abroad, sometimes children who are in the foster care system, children who've experienced war. But I've sort of stuck with working with young people and their families.
And specifically in trauma?
Specifically in trauma, I don't really do any non-trauma related work, but lots of different types of trauma. So as I say, some of it's war-torn trauma. Majority though has been relational trauma, so physical abuse, sexual abuse, domestic violence. So that tends to be the type of young people that I see. Institutional abuse.
Isn't that's really interesting that when you start to work with trauma, many people actually say that they don't see other children. And that's quite fascinating. It's like a magnet.
I think it really is.
Drawing the traumatized children.
Yes, I know. It feels sometimes like a weird. It's. I often think when I say to people, I love my job, I wouldn't do anything else. And then they say, well, what do you do? And I explain it, and they think, oh. But yes, I think there can be something like a magnet. But there's just the variety and the rewards and the survivorship. I think that I see is just incredible. And I love that every day is different. I think probably the biggest learning that I've gone on, and I always say this, is during my training and post my training, there was very little about brain development and the impact of trauma on the body and on the sensory world. There was lots about core beliefs and cognitions, but there was very little around the body. And so as I went on and I started learning about the work of Bessel van der Kolk and Babette Rothschild and Pat Ogden and all these people who look at the body and the sensory world, that just started to make so much sense to me. And I wish that I would have known that much sooner. Now in a lot of my work I do draw on ideas of body-based psychotherapy and sensory motor and sensory attachment, and I've just found it really profound. And for myself, for my own self-care and noticing how my body gets impacted. So I think that's something that to me is probably really, really important. And focusing on the non-verbal, just doing less talking and more creative, whether it's drawing or painting or puppets or masks, and just getting a bit out of our heads and more into our bodies, really.